And we're live. But we got Leo.
Leo's on.
Love Fest.
Leo, say hello to everybody. Hi. So, guys, if you didn't see our funny title for this week's class, it's the Boogies Man. So a little play on the boogeyman. So if you have kids, you definitely know about the boogies. If you're in education, you're probably seeing a lot of those right now. And given the climate of our world right now, it can obviously concern people, have them worried. But we're going to learn a little bit about why we get so phlegmy, what does that mean, and then what can we do to help, because it can be really, really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
So start from the top, I guess. Why do we get bugs?
Why do we have bugs?
So this is the medical guy and the layman's term person over here. So
Okay, I'll try to make it in layman's terms.
well, go ahead. Like, call it whatever it truly is and what's happening in your body system. So we all have an idea why this is, and it's not just a curse. It's not just, you know, the world playing tricks on you, and it's actually something that's beneficial to your body, right?
All right. So where do we produce mucus? Well, it's actually in all of the skin that's on the inside of your body. So we have parts of our body that are on the inside that have access to the outside world, right? So, for example, when you breathe in, air's going down, it goes down to your lungs. We have mucus that's all in our trachea and our lungs. We have those mucous membranes in our nose. We have the same in our digestive tract, so it's the same for down our esophagus and our stomach. And that mucus protects our stomach against the acid. And then we have mucus all the way through our large intestine, small intestine. And we also have mucus in the female reproductive system. And again, it's all those parts that are inside our body, but actually have access to the outside world. So it has many functions, but definitely one of the most important ones is that protection against outside invaders. So viruses, bacteria, fungi, protecting against those. That's why we have that mucus. It also lubricates and allows passage of food and protects our stomach, like I said, against the acid. So that's why we have that mucus. So it is supposed to be there. We're supposed to have mucus. You're supposed to have mucus in your nose at all times. It's actually there to help trap nasty things as you breathe up through your nose and the air goes through. It catches all those things. It's sticky, it's goopy. That's what it does.
And like to help flush out, because I often think of that, I think it's helping to take out or get rid of things. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it traps that, you either swallow it when it gets down in your digestive system, the acid will kill it, or you blow it out your nose, or it comes out your nose, depending on how bad it's going, and that's how you get rid of that normal process. So that's how it's supposed to work normally. You're supposed to have it, it's supposed to work normally, and it's not really supposed to affect your life largely. But what we're here to talk about today is that when it gets bad.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
When you get the boogies.
You get the bugs.
Man.
So even like I'm thinking right now, there's a lot of people who are watching this from out west who are breathing in a lot of like ash and dirt and dust from the fires and from just poor air quality. And so that gets trapped in your mucus, right, up through your nose and in your mouth as well.
Yep.
So you feel like irritated, you want to cough it out, you want to sneeze it out, or you want to blow it out, right? So there's lots of different reasons that we want to be expelling things that are harmful, like Derek said.
There's lots of environmental factors that can cause that trigger of overproduction of mucus. Perfumes, allergens, ragweed, pollen, all these things that our body recognizes as invaders, it can definitely react. You know, if you look at all of the hand sanitizers and cleaners that are being used right now, those don't have real aromas in them. I know you guys aren't shocked by that.
Not if you're watching this.
All synthetic stuff in all those things. So every time you're pumping out that hand sanitizer at whatever store you've gone to, you're getting that big whiff of floral or whatever it is, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. That's because it's not real, right? It's chemical version that they're using to make it smell less alcohol-y. So all those things definitely can cause irritation, and that's one of those reasons that we overreact and we get stuffed up and we get phlegmy throats and cough. And now if you cough, everyone's going to attack you, so you don't want to do that.
Yeah, you want to avoid it whenever you can. And I know, like for myself, going into stores with masks, If I am breathing in those fumes of the different hand sanitizers and different perfumes and things that people are wearing, I find like my breathing's even more constricted. And I often do end up with quite a bit of like this phlegm afterwards, or I feel like this stuffiness that I'm trying to get rid of after like that mask comes off. And so a little trick I've been doing is actually taking my Breathe oil on my washable mask that I have and just putting some like with coconut oil right around like where your mouth and your nose is, some peppermint, even I roll that under my nose just to kind of keep my airways open. So then when I do get irritated, it doesn't end up being like congestion, right? It actually, I can cough it out or sneeze it out quickly and it's done and over with, right?
Yep.
So that's something I like to do.
The other thing that mucus does, especially in our respiratory passageways, is white blood cells that have attacked different things, got kind of used up and done their job. The mucus actually will transport those things out, and now it can get away from that area. So that's another little bonus that mucus does for us.
Yeah, so whenever you're dealing with this too, you want to use all the tools that you have, right? So we obviously always want to be drinking as much water as we can, avoiding things that would be causing that restriction or constriction of our different blood vessels, or things that make us more inflamed, right? Like the more inflamed you are, like if you're drinking things with lots of sugar or lots of salt, that kind of thing, it really causes congestion, can cause congestion for a lot of people. And so you want to make sure you're putting a lot of good water in your body. Something that was brought up during convention was that adding a drop of a citrus oil like lemon or grapefruit or lime or orange are all fantastic as well to help with that cleansing purpose. So to get rid of the gunk that's going on in your body. So, and it adds a nice flavor to your water too. So just one drop, like in a glass water bottle or stainless steel, is perfect. And I like to do that on a daily basis myself, just to help keep things flowing.
All right.
All right.
So let's talk about how do we deal with these mucus problems. So when you're thinking about mucus, you really want to think, where's it coming from and why is it coming out of there?
Yeah.
Why are we getting this mucus coming from this orifice? What do we want to do about it? And that's really important. That's going to help you frame what way you want to work on that mucus and get rid of it.
Okay, so let's talk about clear mucus.
Yeah,
what
so
would be going on
nose.
with clear mucus?
So your nose turns on like a tap.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that can be, it's an irritation from some sort of environmental thing. Sometimes it's like the beginning of an infection. You get that clear runny nose stage before it turns into a greeny, darker
Yellowy,
mucus.
gross.
Or sometimes at the end, and it's almost like a cleansing where your body's like cleansing out. But usually it's more at the beginning, and it just runs like a faucet. And that one's brutal. Because you don't really feel sick necessarily, but you got this tap faucet nose.
Yeah, I know like sometimes that happens for me, like during seasonal changes with like different molds or different like stuff from weeds or whatever in the air really irritate me, and that's like the first thing I notice is that my nose will just turn on like a tap. And of course I reach for my Tri-Ease. It's a blend of lemon and peppermint and lavender. I take that internally, and it's actually in a nice convenient little capsule that you can take, and that's something that we're kind of used to, right, is just taking a capsule for whatever issue we're having. The other thing, if it's just like a tap, like, and I'm sure a lot of people have dealt with that at one point in their life, an oil that made me like a complete believer was actually wild orange. I heard this just, I don't know where I heard it from, another wellness advocate, I think. To take wild orange, take a dab of it on your fingertip and just put it underneath your nostril and watch what happens. Like, I've heard from so many people that this is like a magic trick. So if your little ones are suffering with this, if you're suffering with this, and you just want it to be over with because it's so annoying, try the wild orange at the tip of your nostrils. And then of course be cautious. Don't go out in the sun after you do something like that. If it's really driving you crazy, you can take little precautions, right? And like, because we know that all citrus oils are photosensitive, which could cause burns on your skin, so make sure that you're staying inside.
Burns from the sun.
Yeah, burns from the sun, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that one is unbelievable. It works so well. And you can also diffuse the wild orange to help kind of keep that effect going.
I just find like when it's topical, it's like boom, right on the spot, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like whenever you have some kind of reaction going on in your skin or something's going down, it's always nice to have it like a salve or something. Like you actually put the coconut oil with the drop of the oil that you're dealing with, and it's really nice. So yeah, that would be the first thing when it's the clear gunk and it's irritating your airway and your throat. That happens too, right? You wake up, it's allergy season, you get the going on, and something that you can do to help with that that I've learned is with Easy Air, but then I add in cardamom. And so that's another one that's really great just to help loosen that up and just to help, you know, eventually get it out. Right, so I do that, like a drop or two with some fractionated coconut oil. I make a little puddle in my hands with a fractionated coconut oil, only 1 drop of each. Eucalyptus is fantastic too, so for that really runny, drainy stuff that's going down, have a nice shower in the morning and put some eucalyptus on your bathroom tiles or floor and let it just sort of steam up your whole bathroom, and it's just really lovely, helps to clear and promote healthy respiratory function.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of like for the beginnings of the clear mucus. Anyways,
Yep.
what happens if it's like then moving on to, and I'm sorry if you guys have weak stomachs, but it turns into like the white,
gunk.
the
Yeah.
yellowy,
The gross stuff.
the gross stuff. Usually it's the green stuff that ends up taking a lot of people to their doctor and saying, uh-oh, it's green, what do I do now? What can we do when it's more of that thick consistency, like that really, you know, gunged up, and it's really hard. It's not free flowing, right? Like you have to make it work to get it out of there. Do you have any of your favorites that you like to use for that?
Yeah, so you've missed that early phase where, you know, hopefully you could have done some other things to bump up your immune system before you got to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to this point, usually, okay, it's too late. You're sick, right?
Yeah.
It's not much you can do now. You're sick. Let's fight this. Let's do the best we can. So there's a lot of things. One thing that mucus ends up thick, and you want to keep it moist. So a humidified space, which is really good for your immune system anyways, and your healthier home. Steamy showers, really, really good. Putting your head over the hot box of the towel, where you put the towel over top of a steaming bowl with some oils in it. Really good to kind of get that loosened up and opened up. And then there are very specific oils that can really help with congestion. An easy one is Breathe or Easy Air, just because it's already set up for you. You got all the oils in there and you just go with it. But a quick list of them would be eucalyptus, peppermint, Breathe, Douglas fir, cinnamon, juniper berry, cypress, melaleuca, cedarwood, cardamom, ginger, rosemary, fennel, citrus oils, and patchouli. That would be like the quick ones to kind of deal with congestion. And then sometimes you know it's deeper and you want to, like, you can't get it up, so you need something called an expectorant. So you need something to help. So you got these little called microcilli. They line your respiratory airways, and they do this. They move, right? They do a little dance. And what you want them to do is be really active. And when they work, they push the mucus and phlegm up so you can cough it out. And so that's called an expectorant. And the really good ones for that are eucalyptus, majoram, frankincense, helichrysum, and cardamom. You're going to use those in 2 ways. You're going to put them topically with coconut oil right on your chest and on your back. And then you want to diffuse those so you can breathe them in as well. And those 2 ways actually really, really help with the microcilli and increasing them to work as an expectorant.
Yeah, something that I found that really helps that I never thought about before was Zengest, actually. So that's the blend that they use with specifically chosen oils to work synergistically to help your stomach, like whenever it's feeling not so fantastic, you got bloating going on, you got something like that. It's actually really awesome for your sinuses. I don't know, I found it in one of our textbooks that we have, to add a drop like by the sides of your nostrils, the openings of your nostrils. And sometimes I actually put it on my forehead where my sinuses really get congested. So I'll just take a drop and I'll actually make like a little halo like across my forehead. And it kind of blew my mind. I think we did a class on this like a while back, and you talked about that, like what it actually does. So with Zengest, that's meant for your stomach, your digestive tract, it helps to calm down those cramps and those kind of
the skin tension, the overreaction. It helps calm all those things down and relax those muscles. And we have smooth muscles in our whole entire body, so it actually calms the smooth muscles around your sinuses and all are everywhere. And if you listen to the list of oils they listed off, actually a lot of them are actually in Zengest.
Yeah.
Another good one about Zengest is that as we were dealing with this mucus, you end up swallowing a lot of it.
Yeah.
You don't realize how much you swallow. You cough a lot up, but you swallow even more,
Yeah.
especially when you're sleeping. And so often that can make us feel kind of nauseated and not so good. And Zengest is awesome for that. It helps with the digestion of that mucus to get it out through your system.
Yeah, that really made me think about just how so much of our health is dependent on our gut health. So there's a lot of new research and science and lots of doctors that'll really happily tell you, right, that a lot of your health begins in your gut. And so whenever you do feel things start to go a little sideways for yourself, like take care of your stomach, right? Even if you're not feeling huge like symptoms yet, definitely think about that Zengest and think how you could rub that on your stomach for a nice little massage, or in your belly button like I like to do, or just even a drop under your tongue just to sort of get things moving, right? Because it's just one part of kind of an indication that your whole system's screaming for help or it's trying to do something, right?
Yep. Definitely for kids, it's the same. It's, if they're feeling nauseous, it can be something as simple as a fever, but it also can be this mucus that they're actually swallowing a lot of, and it gets them very nauseated, as well as in their throat. They have very sensitive gag reflexes, and if you're getting a lot of mucus kind of irritating that area, that can really do a lot. So Zengest is great for that. And also you have Tamer, which is another option if they find Zengest is a little too strong. And of course dilute appropriately for the age of the kid.
Yeah, and sometimes I find too when I'm really like stuffed up and mucusy, having the breathe drops and the ginger drops are actually really, really beneficial because it is like a hard candy that you can have in your mouth. We say candy, but it's not like candy. It's not loaded with sugars or anything like that, but it has the delicious tastes of those oils, and it breaks down over time, right? Like in a hard candy, you're not just going to crunch it up and swallow it. Like it's nice to just soothe your throat, and then also to help like opening up those airways and just getting those oils effectively into the membranes where they need to be. So those are really great things to have on hand if you're putting a US order in. I personally love to have it, and peppermint's another great one too, reacts in much the same way, right?
Yep.
It's in Zengest, so that makes sense.
Another one to go with for congestion is Tri-Ease. It has peppermint, lavender, and lemon.
Yeah.
And those three are really, really good at helping relieve that congestion. Good news is though, is that if you don't have the capsules yourself, you can use your own veggie caps and make that, or put it in a glass of water and drink it down, as well as you can diffuse those three. And they're all really, really good for helping out with that stuffiness, irritation that comes from allergens, those kinds of things.
Helping to bring your body back into balance, right? Helping it to do what it's meaning to do, and that's really what's going on in your body when you have that stuffiness and that congestion, and it's really just telling you, it's signaling to you that there's things going down, your body's working to make you better, but sometimes it does need a little extra help, right, to bring it back into balance, and that's what these oils will help to do for you.
So what we're talking about here is a lot of not chronic issues. These are much more acute, and definitely we can have chronic issues with mucus too.
Yeah.
Some of those ones are more complicated, more difficult for you to figure out what's actually going on, and maybe you've been suffering with those for quite a while, and that can be challenging for sure. What you would want to do in that case, if you're dealing with chronic mucus, definitely talk to your physician, figure out what's causing this to happen. Because if it's chronic and it's all the time, something's going on. It's not just that you got a cold and now you've had it for a year. Clearly that's not what's going on. So when you have that type of issue, you definitely want to reach out to a medical professional. If you want to, you can always reach out to me when you've exhausted that, or you're concerned, especially about nutrition. There are many things within nutrition that can cause that, as well as environmental allergens within your home that you're chronically exposed to, or in the workplace. So a lot of those things can cause that type of issue. So it's definitely a lot different. These all will work for that, but of course the problem will still be there. We're talking about helping you through a difficult time versus something that's all a chronic, never going away issue. You got to get to the root cause.
Yeah, that just made me think about before, when I used to think that I was getting quite sick, like often, right? It actually ended up being some food allergies. And so when I identified what those were, I started to notice huge changes in what was going on for my ears, nose, and throat. So yeah, there's so many different pathways to look down, and definitely reach out to people that you trust and people that will explore all avenues, right? Doesn't hurt to do some preventatives, like some diffusing, of course, and some topical treatments are nice. But yeah, like Derek said, if it's chronic, you definitely want to get that checked out.
One of my friends, if he has dairy, within 5 minutes, he's got mucus. He's like doing that in his throat, and he actually gets rib pain, which is caused definitely by the irritation from his stomach. And so like multiple effects from just something as simple as having something with dairy in it, and has mucus, and really not a good, pleasant experience. So definitely when you're dealing with something like that, you want to dive a little deeper and work through that.
Yeah, that's what happened for me too. I was getting lots of ear infections and throat and nose, and it was just terrible. Couldn't fly in an airplane. Of course, we don't need to worry about that right now, but it was making it extremely painful for me to do anything like that, and then it would just build onto infections. And so it's kind of crazy how just removing one food group could actually make such a change in your life. So definitely explore those avenues if you're finding that you're suffering quite a bit with that, or if you have little ones that seem to always have this going on. Like as a teacher, like I would see that all the time in the classroom. The same children would have like the gooby noses, and it just seemed to never end for them. It was always running. So look beyond just, am I sick, right? Like could it be some kind of allergen? Like environmental threats can be many things, right? So it's not just pollen, it could also be food. And the things that we're using to clean our houses with, or different things that we've talked about before.
Yeah, and all these oils will still help you through that transition of that issue, whatever's going on. But it's just to realize that you're only covering it up, and you definitely want to get to that root cause and figure out what's causing that problem for you.
So something that a lot of people are wondering when you're talking about the boogies and the boogeyman, when it's green, is this truth that means that it's like an infection?
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not 100%. Nothing in our bodies is 100%.
Okay.
You can have that reaction with green mucus from environmental type things, and it's definitely possible to have yellowy green mucus from that. So it's not an absolute, but a lot of the time, yes. If you have green, yellowy mucus coming out of your nose or coughing out of your lungs, Leo's just gonna cough up a piece of chewy here.
Ugh. He's okay. We got our eye on him.
He's okay. Yeah, so most of the time that's what it means.
Okay.
Unfortunately, though, most of the time it's a viral infection. So when you go to the doctor with that issue, they often will recommend a decongestant, an expectorant, something to control fever if you're having any fever, those kinds of things. So they're most of the time, not always, but most of the time. Then they'll do a throat swab, they'll do other things, right? And try to rule out anything bacterial, which is when you would try to reach for an antibiotic, obviously, if that's what that was. So most of the time, gonna be viral, most of the time, yellowy green mucus infection.
Yeah, and so when it comes to that point, if I've ever got onto the green stage, let's say, some things I love to do is to look for those oils that have the constituents that are going to be supportive of either of those things. And so what I like to do is a nice steam with a coffee mug, and I'll just put some steaming hot water, and then I'll take a list of different oils and just put one oil of each into the steam, and I'll actually put my head, just like Derek was mentioning about the towel, it's like a steam breathe it in, and I'll put it right over my head and just breathe it in so that I'm getting the effects and benefits of those oils, just in case, just to cover all those areas, right? Like, because you never know like what it could be, right? But I want to do all the things that I can do on my own first, before I have to go to that next stage, because we know that there's so much like antibiotic resistance happening right now for a lot of people, and it's worldwide, right? That you definitely want to be wary. Of course, you want to always seek medical attention when you need to. Like, goodness gracious, you guys always do that. But like, I like to do things for myself first, as best as I can. And so in that steam, I like to use a drop of oregano, on guard, lemon, peppermint, tea tree, and frankincense and lavender.
Yep.
Yeah, I like to do that. Just 1 drop of each, just to like get that steam going and breathe it in. You're gonna feel it in your eyes. You're gonna feel it in your nose. It's not pleasant. It's not wonderful flowers and butterflies. It's gross, quite frankly, but it helps to clear things out and get those oils into the direct places where you're having that issue. So through your nose and in your mouth.
And I think the important thing about it all is these are in addition.
Yeah.
Right, so you can do this before you get your doctor's appointment, and sometimes that's days before you can get one. But you can also do this in addition to whatever treatments that they're working with. So you're able to help yourself and use modern medicine, and that's really important, is that you get to use both. It's not an either or, it's a together and.
Yeah, there's some really neat studies that are out about the effects of using essential oils alongside of what your doctor's recommending and how it can actually help and amplify the effects. So these are all really cool things that we know are coming out. We just want to make sure we're talking about them in a compliant way and with everyone's approval. So just know that that is happening right now in our modern medical world, is that they're combining both Western and Eastern methods to now look at the whole patient and to treat people individually, because we know not everyone's bodies are the same. We're not going to react the same way. So we need to have an individualized plan. That's what's really cool about these oils. You can look at 20 different oils listed to help you with your nose problems or your stomach or whatever it happens to be, right? We're talking about congestion today and boogies, but something's going to be completely different for you than it is for me. There's some really neat oils Derek mentioned that I wouldn't even begin to think of if I was having a stuffy nose or anything like that. So it's neat to try and see what works for you, because truly you're the one that's going to know. We can recommend all we want to recommend. We can talk about all of our customers and the experiences that they've had, but for you it's going to be a very unique response, because we're not the same, right? So you can try a whole bunch of different things and see what works best for you, and let that be your guide, right? So have a direction to go. Understand that there are options that are narrowed in just for that purpose, but know that there's going to be a unique thing just for you. So if anything we've recommended isn't quite cutting it for you, don't think that that's it and forget about it. Of course, there's so many other ways and methods that you can try, and we're happy to help you through that. And that's why we're here. Like that's our job, right? So we definitely help to guide and direct you to the resources that could help get a better result for you, knowing that we're all different. So that's a really cool thing about essential oils.
Yeah, it's very much about you. It's a specific, targeted approach for you, which is really awesome. Yeah,
because we all experience pain and we experience congestion in different ways, right? So it's really nice that you can individualize something for yourself. Something else that was brought up in convention was talking about epigenetics. And so this is a whole other realm that I know we want to talk about at another time.
It's like a whole science Sunday for a
year. It really is, but I can't close out this session without talking about On Guard, because whenever anything starts to act wonky, we always reach for frankincense and we reach for On Guard. Like our heavy hitters are like the oregano and that kind of thing, and clove. But when things start to go a little bit out of whack, we like to make sure that we're having On Guard in our daily practice, because that is something that is going to support your system always, right? Don't wait for your boogies to get green. Have your diffuser going with On Guard that's really simple and really quite pleasant in your house, just to keep up that support, because we are coming into the time when fall's changing, the season's changing to fall, and that means that our immune systems are going to get hit a little harder as we have less sunshine, we're inside more. Your kids are at school, we're all interacting and gathering into larger parties now. We're going to want to do everything we can to support ourselves, so make sure you're getting that On Guard in. Like Jerry said, we'll do a whole other class, I think, on what was brought up with epigenetics and On Guard essential oil, but it's really quite amazing that we can change the way our body reacts. You're not a victim to genetics, you're not a victim to circumstance. You can do so many things, and they have legitimate proof that they can actually say this with all confidence, that you can take back your health and you can control what happens to you. So that's really exciting stuff for me, but know that there's so much on Guard. I know it's a favorite for many of you out there. Keep it going. Keep it in your toothpaste and your laundry detergents and your cleaners and your diffusers and your hand sanitizers, because it is really quite amazing, the blend of essential oils in this unique mixture. that is very supportive of overall health and wellness in so many ways. It blew my mind to hear about it. It's not just about your immune system, right? It's about mental health and wellness, and so many things are positively impacted by having that On Guard in your life, which is, if I go on, it's going to be another hour, so I won't do that to you guys. We'll leave you hanging. But did you have anything to say about On Guard, just from what was brought up at convention, that you feel is important? I know, like, the daily use, like getting it on your skin, if you can get it like rolled on your feet or on your spine on a daily basis, because we know environmental threats are high right now. Our worry level is very high right now about what's happening in our world. So if you can get your On Guard out and on you, amazing. If you can gargle with it with water in the morning, amazing. Or use the mouthwash or whatever. But having, especially that clove oil, I'm totally geeking out right now, as you guys can tell, but yeah, I'm taking all your ideas away maybe, but...
No, I mean, the science is huge on this, and that's why I said, like, we have to do a separate class just on sort of the genes and epigenetics and what's going on with On Guard and the oils that are within it, and I think we have to leave it to that. Anyone who's used On Guard on here knows, and we actually had a post on convention thing about that, and people telling their stories about On Guard, and knows how effective it is, but it's always good to know why it's so effective, and that's really what they're talking about within this whole thing of epigenetics.
And I think, like, why I get so excited is that I'm finally hearing validation that this is real, that you don't have to be like a victim every single seasonal change that comes along. Like, because I used to be that person. I used to be like, it's gonna be fall, like, man, I'm gonna be sick. And it was, like, I was. Every 3 weeks into teaching, I would be knocked out with some awful cold or something, and it would hang on for months. And the same thing would happen as soon as it would turn from fall to winter. And I'm like, oh, well, this is just how it is. This is just my job. This is just how my body is, probably, you know. I've had doctors tell me that before, like, well, your nasal passageway is a little more constricted. You know, like, I'm hearing all these things all the time, that I just need to be at the mercy of the seasons changing and perhaps how my body's built and how it is. But to hear that, no, actually, you can change the way that things are going down in your own body is pretty empowering and pretty exciting, because I know so many people out there are just saying, well, it's fall, we're all gonna get sick, let's just deal with it, right? And you don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
You can take your power back, and you can do things to help you so that you don't feel that way. And it's really exciting when you see those changes, or when you realize, oh, actually, I haven't had a really terrible sinus issue in a while, right? Like, that's pretty neat to feel that way. So you can tell I'm excited. I'm sorry, I went off on my own little tangent, but it's really exciting to me because the story I've been told my whole life is, and not in a mean way, like, not because they didn't care or anything, it's just because that's how it was maybe believed, or
it was largely, that's how even when I was taught in paramedicine school, that your genes are your genes. This will happen on this date on this, and that's what your genes say, and that's the way it is, and that's what was believed, and that's what was understood. And now we know that is absolutely not true. You have the power to decide whether that gene does what it does when it does it. You have that ability. You have to gain the understanding to know how not to let it do that. That's the challenging part for sure. But you actually have that power to decide when you know whether that's going to do that or not. And genes are light switches that turn on and off. And we can control those switches with what we do and how we live. So it's pretty cool. We're going to talk about it.
Yes, and all the, like, mind-blowing research about our immune system, and I'll have you looking at it in a totally different way. I just think it's so wonderful to know that there are things you can do as prevention and preventative, but even beyond being preventing or doing preventative measures, doing daily healthy habits are going to sustain you for your whole life. And, you know, maybe you're still going to get congestion, but it's not going to knock you out for a whole week, right? So if you're doing these things on the daily, you're making this part of your lifestyle, it's going to support you through all stages and all seasons and all stress levels and all that kind of stuff, right? So you're never going to harm yourself by doing like good preventative measures, right?
Definitely not.
So that's what excites me. That's what makes me happy to tell you and spread the message that I've learned about, and it gets me going. It's very exciting to know that we can do things for ourselves, and you already have the tools there. So if you're watching, you have some bottle of something, or you're about to get them, and know that there's so many uses for just that one bottle and how it can support you in so many ways. So I'm excited for that class. We're gonna have to schedule that one in because this is a new thing we weren't expecting to learn about in conventions, so we can't wait to share that with you.
Bonus class.
Bonus Science Sunday probably with Derek.
Yep. All right, that's it.
I think that's it. I think we covered all the, oils, favorite ones. If you could only pick 3, let's say, what would you choose to support your mucus and congestion and that kind of thing? What would you do?
Yeah,
you could only
absolutely.
choose 3.
If I can always choose 3, and I'm going to cheat because I'm going to pick blends.
Okay. I knew he'd cover his bases.
Yep. Number 1, On Guard, so I don't get there.
Yep.
Number 1, I use On Guard so I don't have to deal with the mucus in the first place.
Yep.
I think that's pretty good. It also does help with discomfort when you have all this inflammation and mucus, and so I use it for that as well if I didn't get there. Number 2 is absolutely Breathe, because it has a whole bunch of things that are in here and I don't have to limit it to one oil. I know, I said I'm gonna take advantage of those. And the other one is gonna be frankincense. And it's because it does so many things. Now, I'd like to add in oregano, but I can only have 3, so I'm gonna go with frankincense.
I guess if you would have said the On Guard soft gels, because they do have oregano in them.
They do. True.
If I could only choose 3, I think this is coming from a very individualized perspective. So things that I found when I just can't quite kick it, like if it's, I've tried the ones that Derek suggested maybe, or I've tried my usual go-tos, they're not really working as I want them to. For some reason, I find that Zengest, a game changer, right? So that's the one for your tummy, but it's great for your, to help with your sinus and that pressure and all that stuff that's going down. The other one I have to say is tea tree or melaleuca. You'll see the label a little bit different from Canada and the US, but that one's really fantastic too, like just to gargle with that, or to put it on top of my sinuses with some fractionated coconut oil, breathing
good on your
it
lymph
in.
nodes.
Yeah,
really good on your lymph
breathing
nodes.
that one in just seems to really do it for me when I get that steam mug going. And and the other one was cardamom, and when I started adding that to Breathe, that was a real changer for me. Cardamom is really like warming, and if you were to put some fractionated coconut oil with the Breathe and cardamom, so there I cheated a little too. It's already in Breathe, so I bump it up with some more cardamom.
She borrowed my oils, so she's allowed to have 4.
It reminds you of a traditional over-the-counter that you would buy, except that it works longer, in my opinion, and from all the customer reviews that we have, is one that is just fantastic. So coconut oil with it, rubbing it on your chest, on your back, get someone to rub it on your back and your lymph nodes and all that, and it's just amazing. Bottoms of your feet too, that seems to be one that's a real game changer. It's cardamom, so it's something that we don't have to think about, but it's really yummy.
All right.
And effective.
That's good.
Yeah, so I think that's all. I think we've covered our bases, and hopefully if you end up with the runny nose, you remember our little trick. I don't know if anyone's, I don't know if people are here for the very beginning, but I did give a little trick. If you have like that tap nose, reach for your wild orange. You're gonna love it. Put a little dab underneath your nostrils and see how that goes. But then don't go in the sun.
Okay.
Okay?
Done.
It's awesome. All right, so that's what we got on It's About the Boogies, man. And hopefully we've covered some things for you that will be helpful when you're in that moment of need and you're really irritated about being congested or having that mucus, and you can look back on this and get some really good tips. So hopefully that served you well. We'll be back next week for another topic, and we'll cover it here and we'll post below so you know exactly what that topic is. I can't think of it on the top of my head right now.
That's okay. And don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel, Live Health Forward, because we're putting all these videos up there. If you subscribe, in case you miss one, you won't have to go through the Facebook feed to try to find it. It'll just pop up in your email saying, oh, there's a new episode on Live Health Forward. So that's what I would do. Subscribe.
Exactly. Way easier to find that way. Nice and organized.
All right.
Well, thanks for watching. Whether you're watching live, we appreciated you being here live with us. And if you're watching the playback, make sure you're commenting or post questions below, and we'd love to hear from you. So have a great night and a good week. Be well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.